Good evening. Welcome to the Red Hook Town Board meeting of Wednesday, October 27th, 2021. Would you be kind enough to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. I hope everyone is well. I'm going to now hopefully put up the agenda for tonight so you all can see. There we go. Can everyone see the agenda for tonight?
Yes.
Yep.
Very good. For the folks at home, tonight we have a continuation of the public hearing for local law E and F. That's the cannabis opt-out law. And then we will move right into some ministerial work. We'll be authorizing successful bids, public bids for the purchase of road services and materials, hot mix asphalt, ice control abrasives, a contract for some work on the water storage tank, and also awarding the snow clearing and ice control contract for sidewalks in the parking lot here at Town Hall and the recycling center. Also joining us tonight will be Paula Schoonmaker, who is leading the charge for our redraft revision of the local waterfront revitalization program. And we have submitted parts 1 and 2 to the Department of State for their review. And Paula is going to walk us through the work that subcommittee has done over the last, 3 years now, Paula, is that right?
Right.
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, for the folks at home, before we start our public hearing at 7:35, we want to let you know that tonight's meeting is being live streamed on pandatv23.org. And with us tonight to start off with is Danielle. And Danielle is, well, you have 2 titles, don't you, Danielle, at Panda, which is the Public Access of Northern Dutchess. And if you could tell the folks at home, Danielle, what Panda does.
Panda is contracted by our 5 municipalities that support us, which are the villages of Rhinebeck, Red Hook, and Tivoli, and the towns of Red Hook and Rhinebeck. We are the public access station that was set up back in the early 90s to keep municipal events, board meetings, and stuff like that completely transparent for the government, so people could have access to everything that was going on with their local municipalities. And I'm the station manager there. I just started my 10th year in May. And with that said, I guess I'll just let you take over if there's anything else you need from me.
Well, thanks very much, Danielle. And just for the folks at home, if you were trying to watch the live stream, I think it was a couple of meetings ago. Is that right, Danielle?
It was that very first meeting that we had talked about. I was going to come in and shoot it. I don't remember what date it was, but I was going to come in and shoot it, and we switched it to Zoom meeting because the pandemic is picking back up again. I think it was a very smart choice to switch it back to a Zoom meeting. And unfortunately, although I did set up the Zoom meeting and the live stream, so it did stream live, I failed to add the link for the live stream to the Panda website. So had people had known they could find it on YouTube, they would have found it there, and it is there. It is archived. We did record it. It is archived, but it wasn't very easily accessible as it normally would be. And that actually is my mistake. It's just I had been out of practice and was just putting everything together last minute. And unfortunately, I just failed to make that step happen.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, Danielle. We appreciate it. And we know that we're all human. We make mistakes, and first time, I think, in 6 years. We're proud of the fact that the town of Red Hook worked very hard 4 or 5 years ago to ensure that Panda would stay alive and continuing to showcase the municipal meetings. We think it's very important for the folks at home to get a clear, unvarnished, unbiased view of local government in action, and to be able to see it from the comfort of your home. And you can go to the Panda website, pandatv23.org, and you can watch, if you are so inspired, watch all of these meetings, as a matter of fact.
They are not all live streamed on our website live. Different municipalities do have different arrangements, but the town of Red Hook is live streaming on our website.
Very good. Well, with that said, Danielle, if you would just confirm that the live stream is working, and then we'll
Yes, I
bid
will
you
just
farewell.
switch screens real quick to verify. Yep, we are definitely going live.
Terrific.
And yeah, so I do apologize for that, everybody. I'm sorry about that, and I'll try to be more careful in the future. And I hope you all have a good night.
Thanks so much.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Danielle.
Thanks,
Okay,
Danielle.
we're going to start off with just a few announcements, if we could. 7:41. All right, why don't we go ahead and we'll hold off on announcements since our public hearing was scheduled for 7:35. Local law E and F. And Deanna, if you would be kind enough to read the public hearing notice.
Notice of public hearing, Town of Red Hook. Please take notice that a continued public hearing will be held by the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook on October 27th, 2021 at 7:35 p.m. local time to hear all interested persons on an amended proposed local law number E proposed of 2021 entitled A Local Law Adopted Pursuant to New York State Cannabis Law 131, opting out of allowing on-site cannabis consumption within the town of Red Hook outside of any village. Please take further notice that copies of said proposed local law are available for review at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571. Due to the ongoing COVID pandemic, the Town Hall is closed to the general public except by appointment until further notice. Pursuant to New York laws of 2021, Chapter 417, the public will not be permitted to attend in person. Board members are expected to participate in the public hearing via teleconference or video conference. Please refer to the meeting agenda to be posted on the town website at www.redhook.org, listing the specific link which will allow the public to view and listen to the proceedings live, which is expected to be available at pandatv23.org. Click on Watch Live. Project documents will be posted with the meeting agenda on the town's website. All interested persons will be given an opportunity to be heard as follows. 1, the public is encouraged to submit written comments by email or telephone in advance of the hearing to townclerk@redhook.org and 845-758-4606 by 4 p.m. the day of the hearing. Please note local law number E, proposed revised of 2021 in the subject. 2, written comments may be dropped in the town's Dropbox in advance of the hearing at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571 by 4:00 p.m. the day of the hearing. Please observe the recommendations of the CDC regarding distancing and use of masks. 3, all comments so received in advance of the hearing will be noted in the hearing record. Interested persons may also comment by email or telephone to supervisor@redhook.org and 845-758-4622 on the date of the hearing from the time of opening the hearing until the close of hearing. All reasonable accommodations will be made for persons with disabilities. In such a case, please notify the town clerk in advance at the above address or by phone 845-758-4606 so that arrangements can be made. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook, dated October 12th, 2021, Deanna Cochran, Town Clerk, Town of Red Hook.
Thank you, Deanna, and that's for local law E. And similarly, we've scheduled concurrent public hearing for local law F. Local law E dealt with opting out of on-site consumption for cannabis lounges, as we're calling them. And local law F is for opting out of the retail cannabis dispensaries or stores. Otherwise, I believe that the public hearing notice is the same. Is that correct, Deanna?
It just talks about local law F and a local law adopted pursuant to New York State cannabis law, opting out of allowing retail cannabis dispensaries within the town of Red Hook outside of any village.
Very good. Thank you very much, Deanna. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Just for clarification for the folks at home, what's in front of the board right now is consideration of whether or not we should opt out. It's really not a judgment call on whether or not we'd like to have dispensaries or on-site consumption lounges. It's more about how we should proceed at this point. And you'll be hearing, I hope, from board members on their decision tonight if we do in fact come to a decision relating to local law E and F. Since we last met and we had discussions, town board members, I've reached out to, I think I mentioned earlier that I knew Jen Metzger, a former state senator and local representative for the town of Rosendale. We had done some work together on the streetlight consortium, and Jen was appointed to the Cannabis Control Board and asked her for clarification on zoning related matters as it pertained to cannabis. And she assured me that the legislation made it clear that we would be able to control the hours and other zoning related matters for both dispensaries and for on-site consumption places. And that made me feel at least more comfortable about the possibility of not opting out initially. And so I wanted to share that with you. I did take the opportunity to call quite a few constituents, and obviously we've received some correspondence as well. And I'm going to read those comments into the record tonight as part of the public hearing. And I'll share that with you now. Okay, and mentioning the public hearing opinion about opting into cannabis in Red Hook. This comes from Alexandria Jameson, Red Hook taxpayer, homeowner, and mother. And let me, if I could, scroll down, and so the folks at home could read Alexandria's thoughts on the matter. There we go. I am opposed to opting in and permitting the sale of cannabis in Red Hook. We have to strike a balance between encouraging small businesses while preserving the hometown feel of our community. Number one, why have we seen so many transplants in our community during COVID pandemic? It is for the charm for our schools and our community. It's not about being against pot, but once you build a casino or open a CBD store, the dynamics of the small town are going to change. It is the same reason the town does not allow McDonald's or chain restaurants to build here. Excuse me, and businesses are not allowed to have large neon signs. We are a historic small hometown. Number two, allowing cannabis is not all about generating income for our community. The revenue we see in other communities is a result of the novelty and the few locations CBD is currently available. As soon as every other town opts into the sale of CBD, the revenue will not be a viable argument. Number three, students walking past cannabis shops in town is another fact to consider. We teach the dangers of drugs and consumption in our schools, and then our community wants to open a store that validates that drugs are acceptable and common. We already struggle with alcohol and opioid addiction. Opening a venue to sell cannabis creates a window for young people and addiction. If the argument is for medical cannabis, then would it not be better to make it available at CVS or a store with a pharmacy? New Paltz is another college community that is also struggling with a very real issue of how to enforce the laws around consumption You are allowed to use cannabis in town and off campus, but once you walk onto campus, regardless of your age, it is prohibited. As a result, they do not have the police department resources to enforce the basic laws surrounding the issue. Number 5, last of all, if we opt in, we cannot reverse that decision later on. But if we choose to opt out and continue to hear community voices and do more research, we have the option to revisit this topic at a later point in time. Thank you for allowing us to share our voices. And thank you, Alexandria, for your thoughts. Lauren Pohl writes to us regarding local law E, consumption establishments. I have been following the discussion of this and wanted to highlight the below study from 2021, which shows home prices within 0.36 mile area of a new dispensary fall by 3 to 4% on average relative to control areas. Perhaps this information, along with the increased traffic and related safety concerns, will be persuasive. And Lauren lives in our community. Okay, next up, Raj Dave. Actually, Raj lives technically in Milan, but a Red Hook Central School District area. As a resident of Red Hook, I would like to strongly oppose any cannabis associated activities whatsoever in the town. As a parent to 3 young children, I am concerned about their health and safety, and any cannabis activity undermines that. Additionally, the transient population coming into and out of the town to procure and consume cannabis will pose a danger to the health and safety of my children and other children in the village. This doesn't help the community one bit. Perhaps it helps some small business with more activity. It's short-sighted and will be a big mistake. I strongly urge you against it. Next up, Rebecca Chartier, Becky, as I know her, and she goes by. Dear Town Clerk, I am a Red Hook Town resident and I own a home in the neighborhood of College Park. I am writing to voice my support for cannabis dispensaries being legal in our town. In the past, the town board has looked for ways to draw tourism and street traffic. This is an obvious way to do so. In looking at the map of New York State, there are no towns between Hudson or Poughkeepsie that have approved it. A dispensary in Red Hook would draw from surrounding local communities and tap the tourism of Rhinebeck. If we do not approve it, consumers will go north to Hudson, Columbia, or across the river to Kingston, Woodstock, Saugerties, Ulster. This is a wonderful opportunity for the town. Those who say they think that the dispensary would draw undesirables don't look at the reality of cannabis consumption. The reality is that many functioning members of our society use it and would prefer to purchase it from a local and legal source where tax revenue supports our community. Currently, hundreds of thousands of local dollars are going over the border to Massachusetts, and in the next year or so, a lot of that money could be funneled into our own community instead. If we don't support it here, the market and the revenue will just go elsewhere. Thank you for taking the time to thoughtfully consider this matter. Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you, Becky. We also have from Richard Pearson, Cannabis Dispensaries. I am writing in support of local law F, allowing Red Hook to authorize and support local businesses who may be interested in selling cannabis products in the town of Red Hook, besides the revenue stream produced by legal sales in this town. This action ensures a safe and regulated product being made available, thus helping keep consumers free from illegal additives and the ill effects of a black market. The Town of Red Hook Planning Board, in addition to sending us their Lwrp consistency form, had also passionate feelings about the topic, as we anticipated many folks would in advance of this discussion. And so their letter talks about The planning board was recently tasked with evaluating the laws for determination of consistency with the town's, there we go, with the town's LWRP. Revised, it constitutes the town board's decision to opt out of allowing cannabis lounges, and F constitutes the town board's decision to opt out of dispensaries. While their impact on the town's LWRP is speculative, a robust discussion ensued nonetheless, as should be expected for a decision as profound as that embodied in this legislation. Over the course of that discussion, the planning board raised a number of concerns about the decision to opt out and agreed to raise those issues in a letter to the town board. First, the town's decision to opt out strikes the planning board as curious given the underutilized commercial space in town, particularly in the TND-CC zone. That would be the zone from Town Hall on down towards Hannaford. A decade into its existence, the TND has demonstrated success in residential development. The opposite is true on the commercial side. In fact, commercial utilization has gone backwards in that time, owing in part to a 2016 fire that destroyed a building housing 8 businesses. Given the considerable capital available to the cannabis industry at this time, it is possible or even likely that a company in that sector could invest in a vacant or underutilized space. The town forecloses that option with the proposed laws. Those investors will take their funds elsewhere. Second, it's important to note that while the decision to opt out of dispensaries and lounges is technically one that can be undone later, the realities of the industry make it unlikely that Red Hook can one day realize economic benefits even if a future town board changes its mind. New York's cannabis law was signed in March and regulations are forthcoming. Now is the time that businesses are evaluating their options and assessing the marketplace. With so much pent-up interest, applications will come quickly. Those towns opting out will have missed their opportunity by the time they reconsider their situation. Third, the planning board's sole involvement in the evaluation of this law is the determination of the consistency with the LWRP, an exercise which is purely speculative insofar as we were evaluating the impacts of not permitting something in our coastal areas. Yet we were told repeatedly we could not engage in speculation about the results of a path not taken. Putting aside that apparent contradiction, it is the planning board's view that the town board should engage us in an assessment of which zones are appropriate for dispensaries rather than banning them outright. This effort could result in zoning well-tailored, to take advantage of the opportunity for economic growth. Fourth, the planning board is dismayed by language found in each of the proposed laws' legislative intent. This law is intended to further the town's goals of preserving quality of life and protecting the public health. On what basis is that assertion made? Given the strong support for legalizing cannabis for recreational use demonstrated in public survey data, the quality of life argument falls flat. One might argue that the health impacts of cannabis are mixed, but one cannot argue that it is not already in widespread use in the town of Red Hook. So it is unclear what the purpose of referencing quality of life in this law could be. Given the proceeding, we request that the town board rejects local law E revised and local law F. We stand ready to assist in preparing the needed modifications to this town's zoning ordinance necessary for integrating dispensaries and/or lounges into the town in a safe, responsible, and economically productive manner. Okay, and that was the planning board. I didn't realize our planning board had so much expertise in this area. I feel like I need to do more research about usage in our community. Okay, Shelton Lindsay is next. We've heard from Shelton before. To the town board of Red Hook, New York. My name is Shelton Lindsay. I have already gone on record as a town of Red Hook resident in support of cannabis dispensaries being legal in our town. I am not a member of the town board, but a citizen writing to a public hearing. I request that the following be read into the minutes for consideration by our elected officials. Democracy, like a precious jewel, shines most brilliantly in the light of an open government. We trust our elected representatives within the town of Red Hook to work together to get the best results for our citizens. I raise a point of concern when I read the Red Hook Planning Board plans to send a strongly worded letter to the town board urging it to reverse course and support retail cannabis outlets in some form or risk permanent damage to the town's economic well-being. With all due respect to the town board of Red Hook, New York, as an individual, Mr. Supervisor and board members, I move that all citizens of Red Hook, New York, express their views by a binding public vote for or against to adopt or reject local law opt-out of cannabis retail. Without recognition, I raise a point of order. The public notice reads, board members are expected to participate in the public hearing via teleconference or video conference. Below is a direct copy of Kathy Hochul, Governor of New York's laws regarding public meetings and hearings. Who may attend? Please refer to the underline. The open meetings law requires that meetings held by public bodies must be open to the general public, that the body must accord access, including media access, to every meeting. Where a public body uses video conferencing to conduct a meeting, it must also provide for public access at any location from which any member of the body participates. It does not require the public body to offer the public an opportunity to be heard. The right to participate, that is to speak, at a meeting may be limited to the members of the public body itself. A public body may, however, permit public participation and may provide rules for speakers to follow at meetings. Also including among the OML's requirements is that all reasonable efforts be made to ensure that the meeting venue is accessible to the physically handicapped. COVID has augmented the way in which we govern and collectively come to consensus on issues. It is unlikely that access to town board members' offices or homes is possible for this meeting, but the town board is not compliant based upon my reading of the law taken from James A. Kuhn Local Government Technical Series, and therefore should consider other options before moving forward. In conclusion, the public vote is the only way to decide local law F, and it should be to affirm cannabis or reject it by the citizens of the town, not at the sole discretion of the town board, or at a minimum include the planning board in this decision. With all due respect to the dedicated individuals that work so very hard to make laws to benefit our society and its citizens, thank you for the opportunity to be heard. Best regards, Shelton Lindsay. And thank you, Shelton, for your continued thoughts. I did want to just respond to two things, Shelton. And for the folks at home, general municipal law is one of those convoluted things that we have to follow here in local government. And towns are, according to Department of State, we are not permitted to go to a public referendum. We cannot say, okay, we'll put this out to the folks to vote on. Most folks already know this, but New York is not a referendum state. Villages, however, they are guided by sometimes different laws, and so they can, in fact, go ahead and decide as a board. In fact, I think it's the village of Rhinebeck has made a decision that they're all voting to opt out, but they've scheduled a public referendum, I believe, for November 15th. That's the village of Rhinebeck. So it'll be interesting to see how that vote goes, but the town doesn't have that opportunity. So I just wanted to correct you on that, Shelton, if I could. The other thing is you're quoting from the OML, but actually the governor's executive orders replace what you quoted here. And obviously during COVID, it's not possible to go to all of the members' homes. to participate in any one of those. And so you have in the public hearing notice the opportunity to make comments both before and during the meeting by email or by phone. Just corrections there. Jamie Larson writes to us, hello Supervisor McKeon, I hope you and yours are well this bizarrely green autumn. My name is Jamie Larson. I live on Grammore Drive here in the town with my wife, who teaches in the high school, and my 2 children, both in the elementary school. I currently work as a communications consultant and content creator for the Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corporation, HVADC, out of Hudson. Also, sorry, I just want to scroll so the folks at home can see the letter as well. Also, over the past decade, as a writer for local newspapers, magazines, online publications, and nonprofit organizations, I am confident in saying I have likely written more stories about regional farms and agriculture than any other individual. I write to you today not in an official capacity for HVADC, but as a resident who is immersed on a daily basis in the day-to-day stories and struggles of our hardworking local farmers. I have also read completely and written about the MRTA bill, and my boss at HVADC, Todd Erling, earlier this year led a virtual conference on behalf of the New York State Economic Development Commission on the economic and social benefits to local agriculture of opting into the legal cannabis economy. I understand that the town board is pretty dead set on opting out, and I would like to give some perspective from my professional position on why I feel that would be a grave mistake. First, opting out gives you less control, not more. If you are opted in a group of hedge fund sharks come to Red Hook and want to muscle in a big retail shop in the center of town with a giant sign, you would still have all the mechanisms to keep them out and deny their cannabis control permit. But if you opt out, a small struggling farm that wants to grow a supplemental crop of cannabis for some additional income would not be able to sell at the most advantageous price. The big money players, sorry, I lost my place there. The big money players won't be targeting Red Hook with Kingston, Hudson, and Poughkeepsie so close. So the only entrepreneurs being shut out of the market by the town opting out are small business owners. As I'm sure you know from reading the bill yourself, MRTA is revolutionary in the way it blocks vertical integration. There are 4 sectors: cultivation, processing, distribution, and retail. A company cannot operate in multiple sectors, making the economy more disparate and diverse. The only exception to that rule is that a farm can grow, process, and sell if they only sell their own product. This is the type of activity that would likely be the most prevalent and beneficial in Red Hook. Opting out would take this potentially life-changing revenue stream out of the pockets of local stakeholding small-scale farmers. The bill also states that a farm that produces or sells alcohol cannot grow cannabis. So the 2 largest landowning farms in town wouldn't even be eligible to grow, as they both have brewery operations on premise. A great aspect of MRTA is that there is a mandate to give the majority of operating permits to minorities and people living in underserved communities. Included under that umbrella are struggling farms, farms with minority ownership, and any dairy farm. It is explicit that a supplemental cannabis crop would be easy to grow and be of great value to dairy farmers struggling with historically low prices. From a governing perspective, opting out would also cut Red Hook off from new tax revenue and economic development grant funding streams that could alleviate town and school budget issues in years to come. As a Red Hook resident born and raised in Columbia County farm country, the grandson of a dairy farmer and an agribusiness professional, I ask that you please reconsider opting out of the New York cannabis economy. The board's decision to do so will have a huge negative impact, economic impact rather, on the future of our town and its farmers. If you have the time, I would love to discuss this issue further with you and the board. Feel free to share this communication with them, and I would be more than happy to present the information at a public meeting if that would be useful. I hope you will reconsider your decision to opt out of an industry that, whether you personally approve of the product or not, is about to reshape the New York economy. Thank you for your time, Jamie Larson. And I wrote back to Jamie and just clarified a few things. And, you know, the idea that the board was dead set against something when we, I thought, made it clear that we were trying to figure out if we should opt out of this and then consider getting back in or not. Also talked about, you know, there's a lot of talk about economic promise, and, you know, maybe that will be realized, but with respect to the farmers, there was economic promise just a few years ago with the growing of hemp. And as it turns out, you know, we had a farmer who's stuck with a lot of hemp that he can't sell. So, you know, I guess my suggestion is, and was to Jamie, that, you know, there's no guarantees of any of these potential impacts. And so we're just trying to get some sense of what the possibilities are. And then Jamie writes back, just clarifying some thoughts and maybe talking about the Cannabis Control Board is only getting established, and grants and so on and so forth. And then provides a link to the presentation that Todd Erling, who heads up the Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corp, made back in the springtime that was referenced. I think those are all the public hearing comments that we have. Okay, that is in fact, we'll give it another minute. Does look to be. Okay, there are no more public hearing comments. At this time, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing for local law E and F, which are happening concurrently.
So moved.
Thank you, Bill O'Neill. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill Hamel. All in favor, Jacob Testa,
Aye.
Christine Kane,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Very good. Okay, so why don't we go right into, why don't we finish this topic and then we can go back and we can do some announcements. We're on agenda item number 1. Can we, E and F, Chris Shaw, would you be kind enough to walk us through just our secret work involved with these 2 local laws, please?
Certainly. So you have, can you scroll to this is local law E proposed revised, which addresses opting out of allowing on-site cannabis consumption. So if you could scroll to the, let's see here, through to ask where you are. So let's go down to page 49 of your document so that we are at the planning board's recommendations regarding LWRP. If you could do that, we'll start there.
We certainly can.
So the planning board reviewed the secret documents and determined that the proposed laws were consistent with the policies of the LWRP and forwarded their report to the town board, which has been received by the town board. And the next document, if we could just page through this, and I'll walk you through. There you go. The next document is just a record that this is the original addendum. The addition to that is that it is limited to, as per the revised version of the law, to the on-site cannabis consumption only, and no longer addresses the retail component. That's been separated out into a separate review. So then if you could go on to the next page, which is part 2. And this has been prepared for the board's review, taking into account the potential impacts on the town of the proposed action, which again would be opting out of the on-site consumption. So it is proposed that that would result in no impacts or small impacts to the town. So in a short EAF, these are all checked no. Right. And then we have a draft of a determination of significance part 3, which indicates that the local law would not have a significant adverse environmental impact, and that the effect of the local law would be to continue to prohibit certain commercial uses. And so there would not be environmental impacts. It's also noted that there are some potential positive impacts to the prohibition regarding parking and traffic and noise issues. And so that is the part 3 draft negative declaration. Just bear with me. My computer just decided to go back to page 1. Okay, and I think the next thing should be the LWRP form, correct?
It is, yeah.
All right, so the board would need to review the LWRP policies. They have the recommendation from the planning board. So these worksheets are prepared by Michelle Gregg for the town planning board and the town board to assist in your review, and lays out, as always, all of the policies of the LWRP and analyzes the ones that would potentially be relevant here. So the the comments include that the effect of the local laws is to continue to prohibit certain types of uses that are currently prohibited, and maintains the status quo, and that's the primary response to the policies that are implicated here. And again, it's noted that no development is proposed as part of this action, so analysis of a particular development is not required. And this is not considered to be a major action proposed to be taken, again, because it's a prohibition of development. And I think this is the same regarding historical structures. Again, it's no new development is proposed as a result of this. So I think that's the sum and substance of that LWRP set of findings, and the board could determine by motion whether to approve those findings.
Okay.
And again, this is with respect to, I'm sorry, local law E revised proposed.
That's correct. Board members, are we ready to vote on resolution number?
Mr. Supervisor, I think we're going to do the LWRP review, if we could.
Yeah. Well,
Just the
I
motion.
went, yep. Okay.
Yep.
We'll get up to, there we go. Are we ready, board members? A motion to approve the LWRP findings. Would somebody like to move that?
So moved.
Thank you, Christine. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jacob. Okay, all in favor? Myself, I, Bill O'Neill,
Aye.
and Bill Hamel.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Now,
So now we'll go down to our resolution number.
68.
Thank you, Deanna.
so this is
There we go.
a resolution adopting the seeker determination of non-significance regarding local law E proposed revised. And that is the neg deck that we just discussed based on the information that the board has reviewed.
Okay. I'd move resolution number 68. Authorizing that determination. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Christine. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, Jacob Testa,
Aye.
Bill Hamel,
Aye.
Bill O'Neill.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
And then finally, for consideration by the board, we have a resolution authorizing adoption of local law E proposed revised.
Okay. That'd be resolution number 69. This is to at least initially opt out of on-site cannabis consumption establishments. I feel very comfortable moving this resolution. I think we need more time to consider these types of establishments and how they would fit in and where they might fit into our community. And I think that we should take that time. We can come back in with allowing these types of establishments. And so I'm going to move resolution number 69.
I'll second.
And Mr. Supervisor and Mr. Hamel, may I just remind you that there is some language in section 2 that I would like to just read to make sure that we have the correct version for review.
Okay.
And that is pursuant to cannabis law, section 131, such local law is subject to a permissive referendum and thus may not be filed with the Secretary of State until the applicable time period is lapsed to file a petition or a referendum has been conducted approving said local law. Accordingly, the local law should take effect 45 days after adoption, unless there should be filed with the town clerk a petition for testing against such local law signed and authenticated as required in section 24 of the municipal home rule law by the qualified elector of the town registered to vote therein at the last preceding general election in number at least equal to 10% of the total number of votes cast for governor in the town.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay.
This goes to the issue that Shelton raised. The town board cannot ask for a referendum, but any individual could collect signatures as long as they are sufficient in number and sufficient in durability and time to force a public referendum on this. Okay, and I moved resolution number 69. Bill Hamel seconded it. Is there any further discussion on 69? Okay, if not, all in favor, Bill O'Neill,
Aye.
Christine Kane,
Aye.
Jacob Testa.
Aye.
Thank you very much. So let's, if we could we switch to local law F? What page would you like us to be on, Christine?
I would like you to be on page 73, please.
Oh. 73 it is. Well, that's
Back, I guess.
there we are. There's a short environment.
This is our short environmental assessment form, which is the same as the original one, but this one has the action describing only opting out of allowing retail cannabis dispensaries within the town. And so other than that, this is only for the legislative adoption of a local law, checked yes. So we, according to the form, we skip the balance of the form and we go to the addendum. So if you can go to page 76. So the rest of the form is blank.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a particular development. So the addendum explains that this is, oops,
One too far.
there we go. The addendum explains that the intent of the law is to opt out of allowing retail cannabis dispensaries in the town, and discusses the impact of that in brief. And then the next page is the coastal assessment form with the same filled out in the same manner as for local law E, but referencing local law F. And then part 2 has been prepared again, very similar to part 2 for exhibit E. So, right, this is the CAF. And right, then we go on to part 2, where all of the impact issues have been identified as no or small impact. And again, we have a draft negative declaration for consideration, indicating that the local law would not have a significant adverse environmental impact. And again, referencing potential traffic, parking, noise, and order demands. And the next item for your consideration is the consistency determination. And this references local law F and makes the same comments regarding the consistency with the policies as we just reviewed for local law E. So if you would like to consider that LWRP finding first.
Yeah. I would move that we find that the action is consistent with the local waterfront revitalization program.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Christine Kane,
Aye.
Jacob Testa,
Aye.
Bill Hammer.
Aye.
Thank you. And then going on to part 3 in our resolution to make a secret determination.
So that's at page 90. Yep, right there. So
This would-
again, this is to adopt a negative declaration as described in part 3.
Very good. This is resolution number 70, dated October 27th. Making that determination, and I would move that resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Ah, Christine, by a nose. Any further discussion? Again, these are the environmental impacts of potentially not allowing cannabis stores. Okay, if not, all in favor, Jacob Testa,
Aye.
Bill Hamel,
Aye.
Bill O'Neill.
Aye.
Okay. Resolution number 71 is the law itself. It's opting out of retail cannabis dispensaries within the town of Red Hook outside of any village. And for the folks at home, one of the things that we mentioned earlier is that it appears as if the village of Red Hook is going to, sorry to double negative here, but they're not going to opt out. They're going to stay in, and looks like they may welcome a retail dispensary in the village. And so that's a potential anyway. And what we want to again remind you is that we're only making the decision for the township, the zoning districts within the town, and not within the villages. They have their own separate decisions to make. And so I would also encourage you to share your thoughts with them as well. So this is a resolution, I'm sorry, did I say 71?
Should be 71, right, Deanna?
71.
71, thank you very much. And so, who would like to move 71? Bill Hamel, would you like?
I will be happy to move it.
Okay. I will second that for discussion at least. So, Bill, would you like to go first?
Me? Okay, sure.
Okay. since you
I
moved
I
it.
want to make sure that the public understands that I have no moral objection to cannabis. I view it in the same way I view alcohol. And I think it would be hypocritical as someone who drinks wine occasionally to have a moral objection. I do have a legal objection, however, and I want to remind the public that it is still a federal crime to possess, cultivate, use, or sell cannabis products. And until that is rectified, and I think it will at some point, I find it irreconcilable with my oath to the Constitution. And since the US Constitution's Supremacy Clause at Article 6, Paragraph 2 makes it clear that US laws are supreme, I think it's difficult, and I find it troubling that many states are passing laws not just involving cannabis, but other activities which seek to sort of usurp the federal authority. So frankly, at the point in time in which cannabis is decriminalized by the federal government and removed from the schedule of dangerous and controlled drugs, I just can't in good conscience vote to allow it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you.
Well, I second it for discussion, so I guess I should share my thoughts. Reaching out to Jen Metzger was very helpful to know that we would have the controls that we need. I spent a great deal of time the last few weeks reaching out to constituents. I want to thank, first of all, the ones who took the time and effort to reach out to us and share their thoughts. It was very helpful. I think in the beginning, as I said before, we anticipated that folks in the community, at least some, would have very passionate feelings about this topic. And we respect that and we understand that. And if you read some of the comments we've received, they are very contrasting. They talk about the same issues, economic development. They talk about marijuana and what it might do to those who consume it. It's a very difficult topic. But in talking to a lot of constituents and making a lot of phone calls in the last several weeks, I've come to the conclusion that we would, in fact, probably receive a petition, that the folks of Red Hook would, in fact, vote to allow or retail cannabis dispensaries here in town. And so with that sentiment, I find it difficult for me, despite how I may feel about the topic, to stand in the way of what the majority of our residents, I believe, would want us to do. I also would like us to jump on the zoning and get to work, because as Brandy Nelson described to us at our previous meeting in her presentation, we don't just need to do zoning for these two options. We need to talk about the growing operations and so on and so forth. I'm not convinced that this is some sort of economic miracle that's coming to our community. I'm not convinced that it's not going to have potentially some negative impacts upon our residents. I know how some people feel about it. So I want to be very careful about where we allow these retail stores. And I will probably be advocating for a moratorium if this law were to fail tonight, a moratorium at the beginning of 2022 for perhaps 6 months or 12 months, so that we don't trip up anybody who's interested in bringing a retail store here, but also that we have sufficient time to come up with proper zoning for these dispensaries. So those are my thoughts. Who would like to go next? Christine Kane, would you like to share your thoughts?
Sure. I also want to thank everyone who has reached out to us with their comments and thoughts on this process. And I'm sure my fellow board members, we all appreciate that input and the thoughtfulness and the time that you took to do that. You know, as I said earlier, when we had our first informational hearing about this, if this law does not pass tonight and we therefore stay in essentially for dispensaries, there is no guarantee that the state would issue any licenses for a facility in the town or potentially the village of Red Hook. So if it was to fail tonight, that would be preserving the opportunity for a dispensary. And as Robert said, there's a lot more behind this whole opportunity, we shall say. And as was brought up in some of the comments tonight from the agricultural point of view. So even if we are essentially to remain in, there's going to be a lot of work that we will have to do to make sure that we can exercise the town's prerogative, I guess, over where these facilities could go and how they could operate, et cetera. You know, to a certain extent, it would fall under, you know, certain provisions that are already in the zoning, but then it would be which zoning district, and is it as of right or is it special permit, et cetera. So there's just a lot of detail work that has to happen on it. But I do also feel that it's important that the town and the village work together on things and do not end up at cross purposes. So, you know, having heard from the village that they are leaning towards staying in, I think that that's a very important piece of information for us to have before we vote on this.
Thank you, Christine. Jacob, did you want to add any more thoughts?
Not too much. I think just briefly, I want to echo what everybody has said so far about appreciating the input from the public. I think that makes our jobs a lot easier when people are paying attention and when people are sharing their thoughts. It's a lot better to have the different viewpoints, even where they conflict, to be able to thoroughly consider all the arguments for and against something. So I was very happy with the number of people that wrote in, that reached out, spoke to us. I think it's really great whenever people are engaged. So I want to encourage people to continue that with future laws that are before the board. I also want to echo what Christine said with respect to the village. I think that's an important point for us to consider as we move forward with, you know, every decision we make. But it's very helpful to have their thoughts. It's very helpful to work together for this and other issues. So I think that for me, that's kind of what I wanted to echo. I think that, like I said, I want to thank everybody for participating and continue to work together and with the village and with all of our community as we move forward.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob. Bill O'Neill, did you want to add anything?
No, I just agree with what everybody has said.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. All right. That said, let's record a vote, please. And this is resolution number 71. It's authorizing adoption of local law E proposed, and that's to opt out of.
Sorry, Mr. Supervisor, F.
I said A, didn't I? F, proposed.
It's in the draft here on the screen.
Sorry,
In
I
the
said E
third
and I meant
whereas.
F. Thank you. Proposed of 2021. and that is to opt out of retail cannabis dispensaries. So let's record a vote. Bill Hamel,
Aye.
Jacob Tessa,
Nay.
Christine Kane,
Nay.
Bill O'Neill,
Nay.
myself, nay. The resolution does not pass. And again, thank you everyone for your thoughts that you shared with us in making this difficult decision. Okay, that said, shall we move on to other matters? And we have a bunch of resolutions that start on page,
Are you looking for the procurement?
yes, road
101?
services and maritime.
101.
101, thank you. Each year, we go out to public bid for road materials and services and asphalt and purchasing salt and sand and ice control materials. And that's what these ensuing resolutions are. We go out to public bid to get the best price for each item, and you'll see different vendors for different items. And all of this work is prepared by our highway superintendent. And so we appreciate that each and every year. Okay, resolution number 72 is authorizing the purchase of road services and materials. And here is the list, and it's all consistent with our town procurement policy. And so I won't read them all. They're available for you to see here at the town hall. And the bids were opened on September 23rd, 2021. And I so move this resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
I think Christine got in there first. All in favor, Bill O'Neill,
Aye.
Jacob Testa, Bill.
Aye.
Thank you
Aye.
very much. Okay, and that was 72. We do the same for asphalt. And there is a grid that was prepared for the other stuff. Coming up. Okay, resolution number 73, and this is to award the bid to Calaruso and Son and Callanan Industries for the various items. And I so move.
Second.
Second. Jacob did?
Yeah, the seconded, Bill O'Neill. I assume you're in favor? Yeah.
Yes.
Jacob seconded. I'm sorry, Bill Hamel.
Aye.
Christine Kane, thank you
Aye.
very much. All right, we will now, and there's the grid. We're on resolution number 74. And it's authorizing the purchase of ice control abrasives for the highway department purposes. And the low bid this year was from Red Wing Properties, they go by now, okay? Also, bids opened on September 23rd. And this is the price in place. And it's resolution 74, and I so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Bill Hamel seconded. All in favor, Jacob Testa,
Aye.
Bill O'Neill,
Aye.
Christine Kane.
Aye.
Okay. We are on removal of snow and ice here on the sidewalks on Route 9. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping water storage tank. That's 75. We had some materials prepared for us by the water department to go out to bid. They need to do some work on the water storage tank. and they are foundation to hire underwater solutions in the amount of $21,375. And there is the references as well in the projects that they did. So resolution 75, I so move to award a contract for water storage tank work. Is there a second?
Second.
And Mr. Supervisor, before you vote, I would just like to make it clear that the execution of the contract with this vendor needs to be preceded by submission of updated insurance by that entity, all right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, Christine Kane?
I seconded.
Oh, sorry, Bill.
Aye.
Bill O'Neill,
Aye.
Jacob Testa.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay. Well, that is the exciting part of the evening. Let's move to the local waterfront revitalization program. Paula Schoonmaker, are you still with us?
Yes.
You are. Paula, you seem to not be sure there if you were still with us.
I'm not sure there for a little while. I
Okay.
just had the button, but I wanted to thank the board. When we originally planned this public outreach, we were going to have a large meeting at the town hall. But given COVID and everything, the supervisor was nice enough to offer this forum to get some information out as to what our committee is doing. So that's what I'm doing tonight. I wanted to explain a little bit about we are on the Waterfront Advisory Committee for the town. And we are working on an update for our LWRP, which you heard about in those previous local laws. So briefly, the document we're working on is a multi-section document that New York State municipalities and coastlines, with coastlines on the ocean or on rivers or major lakes, may create. The town of Red Hook has had an approved LWRP since 1995, and it's still in effect. The village of Tivoli and the town of Rhinebeck also have one. An approved LWRP gives the municipality standing or a voice with some weight in matters that pertain to its water revitalization area. A recent example was the barge moorings proposed for the river within our waterfront area. The town was able to say that these barge moorings would not be consistent with the policies outlined in its approved LWRP. Also, any local project planned for a parcel within the waterfront revitalization area must be found to be consistent with the LWRP before it can move forward. So these sections, there's a number of sections. The first one defines the water revitalization area. The second section identifies and assesses the natural, cultural, and man-made resources that we have in that area. The third section looks at New York State coastal policies with an eye toward our local resources, and we can tweak those policies for our local use as long as they remain consistent with the state policies. We can look at possible projects that might enhance and or protect these areas. And there's a new section required now by the state that's called the Harbor Management Plan, which will address issues within the water portion of our waterfront revitalization area. Once our entire draft is completed and the town is satisfied with it, the documents and maps must be reviewed and approved by both the New York State and the federal government. And there are a couple reasons that we're doing this update. First of all, our existing LWRP is 25 years old, so it needs updating. And secondly, the state is asking municipalities to digitize the documents and maps to make everything more accessible online. So we on the Waterfront Advisory Committee have completed sections 1 and 2 of the update. And those sections have been reviewed and approved by the New York State Department of State. And that's what we're presenting tonight. Section 1 defines the boundaries of our waterfront revitalization area. In the new draft, the update draft, the boundaries are the same as those in our existing LWRP. Section 2 is an inventory and analysis of the various natural, cultural, and man-made resources within the bounded area. In general, this section simply updates the information in the earlier document. However, there's a new section required by the state on climate change and sea level rise and their effects on our waterfront area. It's at this point in the process, after these drafts and maps have been approved by the state, that a public outreach is required in order to give citizens a chance to look at the work so far and to respond with opinions and suggestions. There will be 2 more public outreach events as this project moves forward. In a later section in the document, we look at possible plans and projects that might enhance and also conserve the waterfront revitalization area. Some of the projects proposed in the 1995 document have already been implemented, such as monitoring the Sawkill for contaminants, which is happening now on a regular basis. Other projects no longer pertain, such as worrying about the proposed Con Edison projects, which were ultimately given up. Public access to the river was cited as a goal in 1995 and has yet to be realized. The 2 completed sections will be available, well, they are available now actually on the town's website. We've also placed hard copies in binders at the town hall, which is open by appointment. There's also a binder at the Red Hook Public Library and one at the Tivoli Public Library. We ask that you read these sections. It's not long and it's a pretty easy read, and look at the wonderful maps that we've had made by a mapper. We also ask that you then take a few minutes to fill out the short survey, which is a link on the town website. There are a few paper copies at the libraries for those who do not have access to the online survey. Once we get all this tallied up, the committee's next steps are to look at our state and local policies for the revitalization area and to update the local ones if necessary. So we're finishing sections 1 and 2, and then we will continue on with section 3. So that's about it. The section, everything is already up on the website, and the hard copies will be around, and we urge you to take the survey once you've looked at the materials and tell us what you think. That's
Very
it.
good. Very good. Thank you very much, Paula. Well, you
Thank
were
you, Paula.
concise, you were concise tonight, but I will say that people may not appreciate just how many years you and others, Christine Kane, Bill O'Neill, Emily Major, and others have been working on this effort, and we really appreciate it. Would like to say you're in the 8th or 9th inning, but that isn't necessarily true, is it, Paula? There's more to
Does
Yeah.
anybody have any questions about what we're doing or where we're going? Or
Paula, why don't you, just for people who may not be that familiar with it, can you just describe the
area.
LWRP area?
sure. It's, well, Robert, did you put the map, that other map up? No, no,
Okay.
screenshot map.
I think if we have it in this batch.
No, it's not in there.
Oh, it's not in the batch.
Well,
Okay.
it's so it's generally it's from the middle of the river to Route 9G. And then from the town boundary on the north, the Columbia County, to the town boundary on the south. So that's generally where it is. And it follows pretty much the National Historic Landmark District, and it follows the New York State coastal boundary. So we're in, you know, that's where it is.
Thank you.
Excellent job, Paula.
Yes. We'll see you then. So we look forward to seeing everybody take a look, because I really think it's the maps are wonderful to look at. And so, you know, have a look.
Hey, Paula, can you tell our viewers where on the town's website they can find the survey?
It's up there as a survey. It's labeled as a survey, I think.
I think Robert's trying to look it up right now. Yeah,
I
and
asked-
please,
Yeah.
anyone, Robert was rolling through a lot of pages there, but it's not that long to read.
No.
If you're
Well,
looking
for
at it.
here's my version of the camera on my computer. If you look on the left-hand side there, Bill Hamill, under, or that begins pay water bill online. You
Yeah,
can
we can't see that, Robert.
Yeah, Robert, you're
Can't
not
see it,
sharing
Robert.
screen right now.
That didn't work.
If you go there, you'll see the section 1 and 2, and you'll see the maps, and you'll see the survey. So they're all grouped together. Deanna did a good job. Deanna and Kate did a great job posting everything up there. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's definitely, yeah, it's there. I apologize. It's on the left-hand side of the screen.
If you have any trouble finding it, just call Deanna.
Yeah, it's just on the left-hand side of this.
Yeah.
It's on the homepage.
No, it's not that hard to find. I'm not that good at it, and I found it right away. So they're all three things are grouped together. The document, the maps, and the survey are all together. So not hard to find at all.
Thank you, Paula, and thank you, Gene Kane and Bill O'Neill, Emily
Thank-
Mason, and others for all the work that you've done.
Well, thank you guys again
Thank
for
you.
letting me come on, and have a
Signing
good
off.
rest.
We'll see you soon, Paula.
Okay.
Thanks, Paula.
Thanks, Paula.
Thanks, Paula.
Folks, we went through our agenda items, and now we actually have to go back to announcements if we could.
I think you skipped the snow removal, perhaps?
Oh, we did. Yeah, we've got to do snow removal. I'm going to do announcements now because that's where I am in the screen share. Okay, and then we'll get snow removal. Chris, remind me again. Yeah, this is why we can add another dimension for me to manage the technology. Okay. The Red Hook Rotary Foundation, which does a lot of great work in our community, has its annual Citizen of the Year. This year, obviously, it's remote. They have every year for the past 3 decades. The directors select a special person, sometimes 2, sometimes an organization, who put himself, herself, themselves, service above self. They have chosen both Dan Budd from Taste Bud, and Chris Donahue as Citizens of the Year. And they were chosen because they were instrumental on day one in creating Red Hook Responds. And the work continues to this day. And they've done just an incredible job. Now, this Saturday, October 30th at 5 p.m., there will be a virtual celebration. And Carl Dowden here writes to us to let us know. And we can put this link, Deanna, if we can get the link, we can put it up on the website tomorrow. If people want to join, would that be good?
Okay.
Okay. And they are also doing a coat drive. Today, until November 5th. New and gently used clean winter coats and snowsuits for children and adults for our local community in need. This is something they've done before. The VFW, I think we talked about other events that they had. They have a
Robert, you should probably just mention the locations where the people can drop off the coats.
thank you. Red Hook Town Hall and Rhinebeck Bank. So, which are both next to each other. So either one is fine. VFW, they have a trunk or treat event. That is this Halloween, Sunday, from noon to 3 p.m. And that's in the parking lot at the VFW, which is on 30th Elizabeth Street. That's just east of Route 9. As they have each year, there'll be a Veterans Day memorial service, November 11th at 6 p.m. That's a Memorial Park in the northern portion of the village at 6 p.m. We want to remind you, though it may not seem like it, there is an election this year and there is early voting. We encourage people to make use of early voting during the pandemic because it reduces the number of people potentially that can be in, for example, this building during election day. And so these are the dates and hours. You can go to any one of those 5 locations to vote early on these dates. The closest one is Rhinebeck Town Hall. Rhinebeck Town Hall is just east of the intersection in the village of Rhinebeck. If you want to get more information, and then I would encourage you to get more information because in addition to candidates for local offices and county and state offices, there are 6 propositions this year. And so you can get the information on what the proposition language is by visiting duchesselections.com. As you probably already know, elections are run by counties in New York State. I wanted to share with you, we didn't really have a presentation yet of the budget during one of our town board meetings. So I just wanted to give you a very quick overview for the folks at home. We will be having our public hearing on the budget this week. The tentative 22 budget for the folks at home maintains and expands services and investments while keeping taxes flat to lower. It's now the 6th consecutive year that we have not raised taxes. We have said that if we need to, we will. At this point, we don't see the need to do that just yet. We have healthy fund balances, which we may in fact be tapping into in the near future. In the budget, the tax rates have been reduced by slightly more than 4% to offset the increase in assessments for residential properties. As you recall, New York State required us to raise the valuations of every residential property in our municipality in order to stay along with market value. That may in fact be the case again next year, as I'm sure you've been reading about home sale pricing in the area. That said, we are starting to hear that some of that activity is starting to cool off. We know that by our mortgage tax revenues that come in on a monthly basis. The town's finances are starting to recover. Some revenue sources are coming back, others not so much. We have additional monies for things like expansion of recycling capabilities. We're looking to do some recycling events, including e-waste and other types of one-time or quarterly events. We continue to fund our recycling and our municipal properties so that everyone, regardless of their income, can access these municipal assets. We have and continue to partner with all of our levels of government and private sector to match funds and leverage funds so that we can do the kind of work that we need to do. We're very proud of the fact that for the last 6 years, in addition to not raising taxes, we've been able to make enormous investments in our community, whether it's recreational lands, preserving open space, sidewalks, trails, you name it, new parking lot, retrofitting town hall and other municipal buildings with clean energy, community solar projects. All of that is helping our finances and giving us a much better long-term trajectory. Leveraging these funds, we are now able to do something we wanted to do for a while, which is at least begin work on the interior of St. Margaret's. And so we'll be doing some of that in 2022 and looking to again expand recreational facilities, more acquisitions. We talk about our collaborative work with the various governments, modifications. Some of the needs have increased as well. In particular, I just want to point out once again, we have volunteer fire companies. They are enormously important to small communities like ours. They dedicate themselves. They wake up at any time of the day or night in order to be there for us. They're going to have additional needs in the near future. We need to be prepared to provide them the funding, and we do have opportunities to do that. We talk again about the need for more open space, especially during COVID times. And we are starting to see some modification, as I said, about the increasing spike in mortgage tax revenues. We had way more mortgage tax revenues in 2021 than we had in several years. That's starting to moderate already. We have unfortunately also gotten some bad news regarding sales tax. As a result of changes in census and data, and some of that data does not seem to be accurate, but Dutchess County distributes sales tax revenue based upon population, and initial census numbers have us now receiving less sales tax revenue. And so we'll actually be making an adjustment at our public hearing for the budget downward for the sales tax revenue. And that could be significant, not only next year, but in ensuing years as well. Just a few slides, again, to go over some of the things that I've already discussed. There's a discussion also about retrofitting and expanding the skate park. That's one of the recreational things that we want to accomplish, as well as continue trails. These are just some of the grants that we've received over the last several years, and this is why we're able to be more efficient with your tax dollars. Some of the programs we've done have been terrific for the environment, and we had hoped that would also provide some savings. I'm sure you've been noticing the change in fuel costs. And so there was a lot of discussion, especially when we went to renew our community choice aggregation program. That's the program where you have to opt out of this bulk purchase that we've done with other municipalities of the energy supply coming into Red Hook, and we chose to renew that contract for 3 years. I guess the bad news is energy costs have gone up. The good news is if you decided to stay in that program, for example, for the month of October, by comparison, you're now saving over 30% over what Central Hudson would be charging you for that energy supply. and you're supporting renewable energy. In fact, I think for all of the first 4 months of this contract, anyone who stayed into that program has been saving some significant amount of dollars. Now, of course, that's no guarantee that that will continue, and maybe there is a little bit of moderation with some of the oil and energy costs that have spiked up so tremendously as the backlog makes its way through the economy. Okay, so that's the update and announcements that I have. So, Chris, you reminded me we need to go back to authorize the award of a contract for snowplow removal and sidewalks, which is on page. We'll get there, won't we? Look at that. Page 134. This is now resolution, is it 76, Deanna, is that correct?
Yes. Yes, 76.
So we're gonna have to, because we opened these bids this afternoon, we're going to have to insert the dollar amounts. We'll have to make slight modifications. We received 2 bids, one from Frank Vosberg and Sons, and the other from DJ Vosberg Enterprises LLC. And you have a tabulation sheet for that. The 2 bids, for Frank Vosberg and Sons snow removal sidewalks, $1,000 per event, when 8 inches or less, 1,500 above 8 inches. De-icing was $200. Snow removal for parking lots was $250 per event. De-icing being $125 event. DJ Vosberg, $1,400 per event for snow removal sidewalks. De-icing $200. Snow removal parking lots, $275, de-icing $200. When we did the tabulations, the lowest responsible bid based upon the number of storms and the caliber of the storms was Frank Vosberg and Sons. And so we'll insert that into the whereas. And then the amounts that I read will be inserted into the per snow event. And Chris Shaw, you have those amounts, okay. All right.
So in the first paragraph, you're saying that engage Frank Vosberg and Sons for the amount of $1,000 per snow event, $1,500 for per snow event above 8 inches, and plus $200 per event for de-icing,
Exactly.
as set forth,
Yeah.
And then I think we can eliminate as set forth in the proposal, because do you have written proposals? Or you just have the numbers?
No, we have written proposal.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And so that's the first paragraph, and then the second paragraph would be the same vendor, correct?
That's correct.
And this is for
Parking lot.
$250 per event in paragraph 2 per snow event, plus 125 per event for de-icing,
Icing.
and that is for parking lot snow and ice services.
That's
Correct? All right.
That's correct. Okay. And so the recommendation is towards the Frank Vosberg and Sons Resolution 76, and I so move. Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Thank you, Christine. All in favor, Jacob Testa,
Aye.
Bill Hamel,
Aye.
Bill O'Neill.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, we have a couple things to do. We have some board reports. Can we quickly go through those? Because then we're going to entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss the potential acquisition of a particular real property. So let's scroll down now to board reports. Who would like to begin?
I can jump in with the Tree Preservation Commission report if you'd like.
Thank you, Jacob, and it's up on the screen as well.
Great. So for the meeting on October 19th, 2021, the following items were discussed at the meeting. 6 trees have been ordered for Rec Park West, and we're expecting delivery in late October or early November. There are plans to remove 2 diseased maples at Mill School Road. One of these trees will be replaced, and a tree has already been ordered. The decision was made once again to order bare root trees from Schützel's Wholesale Nursery. In an effort to minimize the huge delivery costs, the Commission and the Village Green have combined their orders. So that's good for them to be thinking about ways to be more cost effective. The town tree inventory is due for updating. It's been 10 years since the original inventory was completed, and this is going to be done in the spring of 2022 after leaf out. The committee discussed purchasing a simple tree watering system. And this is because for the first year or two of after planting, trees must be watered very regularly. So this is something to make that easier on the committee. Instead of filling, transporting, and dumping 5-gallon buckets, it'll be something that's a little bit easier and a little bit less backbreaking. And then finally, a potential new planting site in Upper Red Hook will be assessed. It's along Bud's Cornered Road across from the old Baxter Farm. The committee members have a scheduled meeting with the property owner for next week, which would be this week. So I don't know if that meeting's already taken place, but that was discussed at the meeting. And that's everything for the Tree Preservation Commission.
Thanks, Jacob. Bill Hamel, would you like to talk to us about the exciting pumping levels of the wells?
Certainly. So as I mentioned at a previous meeting, the town water department decided to lower the volume of gallons per minute. It does not mean that we have less water. In fact, they were still capable of pumping about 145 to 150 gallons per minute. But this saves water, it saves electricity, and there's certainly been no adverse impact to our customers on getting water. And they certainly are allowed, we can increase it if we needed, but I just want to make sure people understand it's not an issue of lack of water. It's an intentional reduction. Testings all come back clean, which is great. We have great water here in our system. And as discussed earlier, we just did a resolution for some tank work that needs to be done for the water storage tank. That's really about it.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, police report, Bill O'Neill. I'll put it up on the screen for you. Wow, we have,
I almost can't see it though, Robert.
well, there we go.
All right, I got it.
How about that?
During the reporting period, there were a total of 92 incidents investigated by the Red Hook Police. 1 arrest and 10 tickets were issued.
I think I like that number, only 1. Okay. Greenway and Trails Committee, who would like to read that one? Jacob, is that you or is that Christine?
That's me.
Okay.
So the committee met a few weeks ago in the end of September, and they're continuing to work on signage for the trails and the loops that are being built or will be built. And they're coordinating with Winnicke Land Trust on the Village to Village Trail going from Rec Park West. They are, and they have sent a letter to the town board requesting a safe crossing from between Rec Park West and Rec Park East. So, and that is definitely something we have to look at. And for the Village to Village Trail, also another crossing at 9G and Kelly Road. And that's generally it.
Thank you, Christine. I think that concludes our reports for this evening. We don't have any more public comments. Very good. Okay, for the folks at home, I want to thank you for joining us. It's now 9:20. We may come back. Well, right now, we're going to entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss the potential acquisition of a particular real estate property. And I so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill Hamill. All in favor, Jacob Testa,
Aye.
Bill O'Neill,
Aye.
Christine Kane.
Aye.
So town board members, if you would mute yourselves and turn off your microphones. We'll be doing this by audio. Thank you. We've exited executive session here at 9:45. At this time, I would like to ask if somebody would move a motion to authorize the supervisor to engage in negotiations for a specific parcel of land as discussed in executive session. Is somebody?
So moved.
Thank you, Christine. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank
Bill's
you.
got it.
Bill's got it. Okay, all in favor? Bill O'Neill,
Aye.
Jacob Testa,
Aye.
myself, aye. That concludes tonight's meeting. I want to thank you all and the public for joining us, and stay healthy and stay safe. We'll see you again soon.